Hey there everybody, and welcome to another Friday Night Spotlight brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. As you can see, this is not David. Joining me today is Joey Chenoweth, and we're just going to jump right into things with our Game of the Week. Only a couple weeks left for our 3A, 2A, and 1A teams, and this week's Game of the Week is Sequoia Pathway traveling to Santa Cruz Valley. Now, this is a big game for both of these teams, where for Sequoia Pathway, it's pretty easy. You win the region, and you make the playoffs. Santa Cruz, not so much. If they do defeat Sequoia Pathway, they have to beat Tucson Tanque Verde next week, so pretty big matchup. Joey, what do you expect out of this game?
Well, Pathway is coming off quite the game, where they get 5 touchdowns, but only one of those touchdowns was on offense. 3 of them were on pick sixes, and one of them was on a kickoff return. And so it's tough to exactly say how great their offense is against tough competition right now. They've had a tendency to really blow out the easier teams in their schedule. Just not really. The other teams just really can't keep up with them at all. And then, against some of the tougher teams like Arizona Lutheran, and then against this Tanque Verde team, they're not really scoring the ball much on offense. But it's tough to really complain about how they performed against Tanque Verde when they, scored 21 points just from interceptions. Including two by Jerry Gamble, who has become quite the force of both offense and defense. And so it'll be interesting to see. Santa Cruz has struggled a little bit on offense this season, although they are getting Wyatt Ogle back, and so that should help them. But will they be able to overcome that really fast, really powerful Pathway defense?
So Joey mentioned it. Before last week's win against Tucson Catalino, Santa Cruz had dropped 4 straight games. Joey mentioned that they were without Wyatt Ogle. He is back, so is Ricardo Alanis. Steve Calvin will be out for the rest of the season for Santa Cruz Valley. But a bright side here is Davin Ethington. He's pretty much the do-it-all guy for the Dust Devils. On the ground, he has 248 rushing yards, 131 receiving yards. Defensively, he's also a force to be reckoned with. Same as Wyatt Ogle. He was missed offensively, but his biggest presence is on defense. So far this season, he has 33 tackles. Last week, he had 1 interception for a 33-yard touchdown. So big news here is this Santa Cruz team seems to be what we expected them to be, similar to that first game against Gilbert Santan Charter. It seems things are back on track for them. They're going to be rolling again. Defensively, they still have Robert Maldonado and Tanzer Gill. They lead the team. They don't lead the team, but they each have 14 tackles each. Robert Maldonado has 4.5 sacks. It's going to be interesting to see how these two teams can slow down each other's running game. Sequoia Pathway, offensively, they're led by Trey Lacey, 712 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns. And for Santa Cruz, it's all about Ricardo Alanis. Last week, he had 220 yards on 10 carries and 2 touchdowns. Overall in the season, he's 1 yard shy of 1,000 yards. Joey, is there anything else people should look for in this game?
Well, the implications are much bigger for Santa Cruz in this game. There's a chance that Pathway could lose this game and still make the playoffs just based on their ranking. But Santa Cruz, it looks like they're not going to be able to get into the top 16, so they really need to win this game to win the region and get that automatic playoff spot.
All right, that does it for our breakdown of Game of the Week, and now we're transitioning over to our picks portion. Joey, what game do you have your eye on this week?
Well, there's a lot of rivalry games going on this week. It's kind of interesting when the schedules all align like this. But the oldest rivalry of the bunch is Cruz Florence, and they will be renewing their rivalry on Friday at Florence. Florence for a while there was dominating the rivalry. They had won 4 in a row. But the last couple of years, Coolidge has kind of turned the tables on them. They've won the last 2. And both teams now are coming into the game kind of with disappointing seasons, I guess. It's been ups and downs for both of them. Coolidge has been alternating losses and wins each of the past 5 weeks. While Florence lost their first three games, but now they're on a little bit of a winning streak coming in. Although it's you can say what you want about their strength of schedule, but the Coolidge's offense has been tough to figure out. There's some teams where they play and their offense just can't be stopped. Tadlin's can go off with 200 yards or plus rushing. And then some other options on the Coolidge offense work. But against good defenses that are able to put a lot of pressure in the box, Coolidge really has a hard time getting the ball moving. The passing game hasn't been very great, although they had some promising signs last week against Eastmark. They're really going to have to focus on playing a disciplined game. Whereas Florence, they have a little breakout star here in senior Caleb Lewis, who scored 212 yards, who is over 212 yards rushing each of the past 2 games, has had 5 touchdowns. And he's really been carrying this Florence offense of late. And while sophomore quarterback Jet Scott has, he's been having some growing pains, but he's been taking care of the ball most of the time. And so we'll see. I really have no idea. It's crazy that this is week 8 and we really don't know how good some of these teams are, because they're either facing great teams or they're facing teams that can't really keep up with them. So it'll be interesting to see how these two actually match up.
All right, real quickly, we're going to throw up Joey's picks on the screen. Joey, who do you have winning this game?
This game, Florence has all the momentum right now, so I'm gonna take Florence in a little bit of a squeaker.
All right, and now my game to watch is going to be Post and Butte traveling to Apache Junction. Now, Apache Junction is coming off a bye week. Post and Butte traveled up to Phoenix Northwest Christian and defeated the Crusaders 35-0. Now, these two teams are oddly very similar. They have fantastic quarterbacks and running backs, and one receiver who are their go-to guys. For Post and Butte, it's Drew Dalmacio at quarterback and tight end Connor Lopez. For Apache Junction, it's Gavin Lamangelo and Garrett Garcia. On the ground, Post and Butte's Octavius Joe already has 932 rushing yards, and for Apache Junction, it's sophomore Isaiah Savoy with 789. I think the biggest thing here, it's going to come down to the defense and which team can play the cleaner game. Apache Junction is 4-1, and there were some games that should have been bigger blowouts, but they struggled defensively, got those penalties called, and let the opposing teams back in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can clean this thing up and how much of a help this past week off is going to help them out. Defensively for Post and Butte, Amari Gilmore has 45 tackles and Riley Nolan has 37. They're the top defenders for the Broncos. And offensively last week, a big contributor besides Joe was Aiden Contreras. He had 106 rushing yards. So big game for Post and Butte. According to the AIA rankings, they're number 3 in the 4A conference, whereas Apache Junction is number 6. Honestly, I don't quite agree with those standings, but according to the AIA, Post and Butte does have the tougher strength of schedule, so we'll see what this game decides. And that does it for this week's Friday Night Spotlight. Be sure to tune in over the weekend for all of our football game coverage.